Healing Arts 2 Final Presentation by Max Randall and April Vihilidal. Dr. Donna Jewell of UNM Dance and Theater College expresses the concept of collaboration in an interview, Positive Inquiry with Max and April.
Start, Max?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So I don't know how much April has told you about our project, but it kind of revolves around a collaboration between, I make music and April dances to it. So a lot of what our project is doing is kind of investigating how, creatives collaborate and what that collaborative process looks like. So I guess for my first question, when you get started on like a collaboration in your work, what do you think is like the most important, like, or hardest hill to overcome at first?
I think the hardest hill, and so when I work with a musician or a composer, I have to choose carefully. I think that is the unknown, because I haven't made the work yet, and I want to make the work in connection with my concept. And then I think trying to communicate that concept to the composer when the concept is really abstract is probably the stickiest moment. And that moment, I have full trust in the composer to also have that creativity be part of their process. I'm not going to tell them I need 8 sets of 8 and then I need this. I mean, I want them to have a creative experience as much as I'm having a creative experience. So one of the things that I did a few years ago was I created a full evening length work for a concert, and it had many different kinds of sections. And so I sat down with the composer and I said, this part is a young person in a field of flowers, and then the next section is going to be in a nightclub. And I need something kind of cheesy nightclub music. And then the section after that, I want something that crashes and smashes with lots of pauses. And then the final section, I want something ethereal and symphonic. So if they're comfortable with that little tiny amount of information I gave them, then it's usually a great collaboration. If they need a lot of concrete information from me, I'm not always able to give it. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, perfect. And that actually fits really well with what we're doing with our project. So for ours, I'm making like 4 pieces of music that each like personifies some sort of emotion, and then April can go with that, which whatever she wants to do with, and however she wants to dance with that. So that's really helpful.
I've been on gigs where I'm handed the music. Mm-hmm. For different sections. Like I'm the choreographer and there's a director who's written the entire piece. They've hired a composer who I don't know, and then they hand me the music. And that's a hard one if I like hate one of the pieces of the music, or it does not bring up any imagery or creativity for me.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that. All the other pieces are fine, but maybe there's one I'm like, I have no idea what to do with that. And that's a really great creative moment, because I'm resisting, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The music is fine. Maybe it's not my aesthetic or something. Mm-hmm. So that becomes like a real, something to really unwrap and work on and hone and deal with. And and then in the end, I end up like really liking that piece of music compared to when I first heard it,
Yeah.
To get used to it, or something.
A lot of times too, I find this with music is that like uncomfortableness kind of breeds creativity a little bit, and that a lot of times you kind of find yourself doing things that you didn't expect if it's something that is not necessarily in your control. So
for the first scholarly article, we have Oh Happy Dance, Emotion, Recognition, and Dance Movement. In this article, we learn about paired viewers with audio, video of dance performances, each of which conveyed different emotions. The conclusions that were drawn include: 1. Dance paired with music elicited emotional responses. 2. Both viewing and participating in dance leads to an emotional response. 3. Emotional music resulted in the strongest reactions. 4. One does not have to be trained to understand targeted emotions. 5. Most emotional confusion was with the emotion of tenderness. Lastly, the least emotional confusion is with the emotion of aggression. For our second scholarly article, we have Cage, Cunningham, and Collaborators, The Odyssey of Variations 5 by Miller, 2001. First composed and performed in 1965, Variations 5 is a true testament to the 1960s experiment with intermedia, a coexistence and cutting across of artistic genres that profoundly informed Cunningham's choreography and Cage's music and multi-interfacing as an exploration of the possibilities of collaboration amongst music, dance, and technology. Variations 5 was revolutionary. The Merce Cunningham Dance Company may be accused of assault and battery on the senses, but they leave some interesting bruises, states Barbara Leving of Chicago Sun-Times. Composer John Cage put together a great deal of noise which never reached the definition of music. He, along with a battery of technicians, operated cameras and mixers to create constantly shifting images on stage. Nothing discernible remained the same except for the constantly exquisite use of extending and contracted bodies leaping, falling, and edging through the special reality set by the stage. The collage effect is precisely what made Variations 5 work. Years later, Albert Reed, one of the dancers in the original production, what gave the work interest, he says, was the overlapping of the various elements. For the audience, it was a process of education to try to get them to see not just the dancing, but a whole new world of vision and sounds. Biochemistry and emotions as connected to a collaboration in dance and music. Biochemical changes in the expression of emotion. The same sympathetic reactions we have to life and death scenarios occur in times of emotional stress. Blood sugar, non-esterified fatty acids, and catecholamines can all be monitored to determine emotional state. Biochemistry of hormones that influence feelings. Hormones can be directly tied to emotional expression. Hormone levels can be monitored to detect subtle emotional cues. A great example is dopamine and happiness. The alchemy of Tai Chi, the grand ultimate, transforming negative emotions into positive, sustainable energy. A poem by April Vihilidal. My arms and hands move in relation to my center, and there is the action of clouds waving whilst flowing in the chi of Tai. A memory of my mother dying is like a red leaf tinged with gold falling from the maple tree in autumn. Neurotransmitters, epinephrine subsides, and dopamine now surges. My heart pumps with a new-found joy. My knees bend deeply into my stance, grounding with roots into the earth, and I become aware of every exhalation and inhalation. I reach with exquisite arms in performing Fair Maiden at her shuttle. A memory of being degraded, embarrassed by an authority in front of my peers is now like taking a luxurious hot steam bath with the aromas of rosemary and lavender engulfing me. Neurotransmitters, epinephrine subsides, and dopamine now surges. My heart pumps with a newfound tranquility. The alchemy of the grand ultimate, transforming sadness into joy and aggression into tranquility. Our project design in a title of tiles. We have 4 songs by Max, each representing a different emotion. Then 4 performative dance pieces by April, responding to each song and incorporating an emotional catharsis. The 4 key emotions are sadness, elation, aggression, and tranquility. Sadness. Dr. Donna Jewell expresses pain and sadness in our interview. She shares her personal process of collaborating with her artistic mentors about her future as an artist in the dance world. Donna Jewell received her MFA in dance from New York University in Tisch School for the Arts and is professor of dance and the chair of the Department of Theater and Dance at UNM.
I needed to do that. I moved to cities where they had dance classes. I went to lots of auditions. I made contact. I just knew I had to do it. I couldn't not do it. I didn't know that I'm really more of a choreographer, self-identified.
How did you discover that you were more of a choreographer than you were a dancer? What happened?
I discovered it because I love the physicality of dancing. I love the athleticism of it. I love the training. You know, that's really interesting. But I dances were making themselves in my imagination. I had to pay attention to that.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm envisioning. I'm not envisioning myself dancing other people's work as much as I'm envisioning my own choreography. So I had to listen to that.
So you were envisioning your own creativity, not you as a dancer. And that's
Right.
when you started to understand, whoa, I want to be, I don't want to be, I am a choreographer.
Right. And that's where my brain's going. You know, that's where my brain is like, ooh, that's really interesting. And then I went to NYU and like my roommate kind of got identified as a dancer and I kind of got identified as a choreographer. So they pushed me.
Oh, I see.
They pushed me to choreograph more than they pushed me to dance. And I was like, well, maybe it's just like self-evident, you know?
Yeah. They recognized your internal sense, and then the inside and the outside just kind of went back and forth, and that's how it manifested itself.
Yeah, and I think it was a little painful for me not to be chosen, you know, to be a dancer because I had been dancing in Boston. And I had been chosen to be a performer in a lot of works. And then I went to NYU and I was not chosen
Whoa.
as a dancer very much to be in guest works. And my roommate was being chosen for all of them. And I was like, oh, I'm having an identity crisis, you know, like I'm having a little bit of an identity shift. And they were totally encouraging me as a choreographer. And they selected my work to be on the final big concert with Bill T. Jones and, you know, Ralph Lemon. I mean, it was a huge honor as a choreographer. So I had to deal with the shift of my own identity. And it wasn't not painful. It was a bit painful, but it was more accurate.
Elation. Joy as an expression in music and dance reveals interesting expressions in these two interviews. Rejeko Dumbashena explains how joy comes from community collaboration in African dance. She is from Zimbabwe. Music and dance are one entity, she says, and dance is supposed to reflect the mood and energy of your audience. Self-actualization is a great source of joy for Rejeko, who graduated from UNM with her MFA in 2019. She is now a professor at the University of Washington. And coming back to Professor Dr. Donna Jewell, we find that she understands joy comes from a collaboration that pulls one's work in new directions. A good collaboration comes from when both collaborators are enjoying themselves in the process of creativity. Inspiration from the environment leads to joy for Dr. Donna Jewell. Aggression. Another interview with Professor Amy Schofield of UNM, Aggression in Artistic Collaboration. Professor Schofield explains aggression and collaboration. She talks about what aggression is in collaboration and what it may look like, and how to handle the aggression in collaboration. She answers the question, are aggressive emotions to be expected in an collaborative artistic process? Professor Schofield explains aggression in collaboration. She says, in my experience, aggression in an artistic collaborative process is generally more passive than overt. And then she explains what aggression may look like in collaboration. She says, it may look like eye rolling, being slow to action after direction, following direction without verbal affirmation interaction, or arriving late and or underprepared, just a general loss of interest. Then Professor Schofield explains how she handles aggression in collaboration. She says, I know when I've had negative experiences in an artistic collaborative process. I've tried to ignore them in the moment, get through the project performance contract, and then move on with the lessons learned. She was asked, are aggressive emotions to be expected in an collaborative artistic process? And she answers, trust is a big part of preventing aggressive emotions. Trust that your collaborators have your best interest in mind. Trust that everyone is contributing equally or as much as their role dictates. Communicating is a big part of trust. Clear communication allows for everyone to be on the same page. When negative emotions arise, it helps to address them early and calmly, before things build up into bigger problems. Tranquility. Success and tranquility in artistic collaboration. Dr. Donna Jewell says success and satisfaction relies on: if you, as the creative, are happy with your work, then you are successful and you reach a state of tranquility. If the piece you create has something to say, you feel successful. If all the collaborative components come together in harmony, you feel tranquility. It does not depend on if your audience liked it. There is infinite tinkering to get to a point of success and a state of tranquility concerning the artistic collaboration, the process thereof. Our collaborative process includes modes of communication such as email and Google Drive. The process for each song: Max would take 2 weeks to compose each song. April would then choreograph a dance responding to the song. Max would send performance videos. April would film and edit each video. The documentation: email correspondence logs, notes on Zoom meetings, and frequent updates on each other's progress allowed for a successful collaborative process. Our collaboration for this healing arts project at times was like a parked tandem bicycle leaning against a village garden fence in the spring. Collaboration happened whence our creative processes were resting potential in the growing imaginative stage, preparing for the fruits of creativity to manifest in communication, collaboration, and creativity. Our collaborative process had challenges and successes. The challenges included scheduling, technical difficulties, issues with email correspondence. Our successes included consistent check-ins, open, honest communication about what's not working, providing supportive collaboration, and having individual deadlines. A conclusion is reached, and I'd like to share it with a living metaphor. Our communication, collaboration, and creativity for this project were like riding a tandem bicycle. We both pedaled and we both had unique seats. We traveled whilst balancing via momentum in the same direction toward a common destination of unifying the arts, music, and dance via film and film editing. Conclusion: I would like to take 2 quotes from the authors of the scholarly article on Variations 5. They are important quotes because I am like Merce Cunningham and Max is like John Cage. We experimented with dance and music as a collaboration, just as they did. We used our current technologies to intensify our creations, just as they did. Merce Cunningham said, "You have to love dancing to stick to it. It gives you nothing back. No manuscripts to store away, no paintings to show on walls, and maybe hang in museums. No poems to be printed and sold. Nothing but that single, fleeting moment when you feel alive." John Cage said, "It's less an object and more like the weather, because in an object you can tell where the boundaries are. But in the weather, it's impossible to say when something begins or ends. We hope that the weather will continue, and we trust that our way of relating dance and music will also continue." We thank you for your engagement. We honor Merce Cunningham from Variations 5 as choreographer, dancer, and we honor John Cage as musician and multimedia director. We hope you have some questions for us. Thank you for your engagement.